Sebastian Stout is passionate about nature and using that as a way to connect and nurture and go within. He has a master's in transformative leadership, certified in ecotherapy, has experience training in yoga, meditation, doula birth work, coaching, and counseling. He has a reverence for the interconnectedness of all things and the interdependence of life. So, welcome, Sebastian. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. I feel really honored. Thank you, Michelle.
Me too. So, you're here today to talk about connecting with nature as self-care. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. It's it's an experience. It's experiential. And essentially my philosophy is that I see us as nature. And humans are part of nature and not separate from it. And the more that we connect with nature, we're noticing similarities and we start to feel a sense of friendship and belonging. And then our relationship with ourself starts to expand as well. There's a little more room for self-compassion, and there's more space of I see these things. I see how for example, I'm keep looking at my window so I get inspiration. Nature speaks in metaphors and helps us appreciate things that can be hard to appreciate, like composting. Okay. Like the process of composting, and it's like this yucky stuff that's rotting, and but it feels like magic how it just creates this fertile soil that smells so good and is rich in nutrients, and it was from the stuff that had died or was rotting, and it's just the metaphor of that, and just seeing how the things that the parts of us and how they change over time, what's no longer needed can transform into this fertile ground, this fertile soil for us to transform and grow in new ways.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So when you're talking about connecting in nature, what are some things that you do to connect with nature, and how is that nourishing for you?
Yeah, I feel like I've grown in intimacy with nature over time, and I mean it started in childhood really, but so if I'm going on a hike and I enter a forest, I am just acknowledging first that I'm there and asking if I can come in. So it's just acknowledging that I'm entering a place of aliveness, and the reverence and
that feels really sacred. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it feels sacred to me too. That's I'm entering sacred space, and just really I step with care, and I imagine that all of the trees and plants and beings and animals are my friends, and that I belong there too. I'm part of it. But so that's part of the connecting, and then but it's also I will it's a very sensory experience, and so I really like spending time with trees, so I might touch a tree, but I ask permission first, and so that's a big part of it. There's respecting space, respect, starting off a friendship with this with consent. And when I'm so like if I'm embracing the tree or holding on or climbing and just feeling its energy, like I'm connecting in that way of just like thinking about it's really just a being, just an existing with the tree at the same time. And I'm listening to what it wants to say, which essentially is just feels a lot like intuition and
Mm.
just kind of like what pops into my head or like feelings or sensations that come up. I'm just listening to those. So it's like she's speaking through me and thoughts, feelings, and sensations, but also I'm noticing like what happens around. So I can see communication in like when the wind blows the leaves a certain way, and it's like, and it's the timing of it lets me know that it's like it's not that it's meant for me, like
Yeah, yeah, it feels magical. Yeah,
yeah, it really does.
yeah. I get that because nature's one of my go-tos as well, especially like if I'm looking to shake something off or find an answer, but the way that you describe it, it's very mindful and very present. And I love that because I think that it just really gives like this amped up sense of interconnectedness, you know? And I think that sometimes above all things, like that's really what we crave is just to feel like we're a part of this world.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I feel like so much of the heartache and the pain that we feel and the frustration comes from this seeming separation. Um, that just the way that our society has unfolded
Yeah.
over many years. And yeah, it's like, like I chose to call my course Returning to Self, and but
Mm.
it's a nature connection course. And so it's like we're returning back to like the essence of life essentially, and just like
Oh,
recognizing that we are part of life, we are living beings. And that reminds me of one of the more recent times I was in nature, and the tree that was speaking to me was telling me how much the forest was missing, um, living in harmony with humans, like providing like shelter for humans, and
mm.
humans just being and living and thriving like in forest settings. And that really was touching to me. And it's like nature misses us too. It's not only do we miss nature, but nature
Mm.
is missing us
I
as
think
part.
that's a great message. Yeah, yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want to be missed? Because that makes us feel loved, right? But like, yeah, yeah. So the forest, I think like of right now it's coming to mind for me as the whole like now it's trending, the forest bathing or whatever. But you know, we kind of naturally gravitate that way anyway because these there's something refreshing about being around these sturdy trees and breathing in the air that they're exhaling, right? So, I mean, what is it about this longing that we have? Maybe most, not everybody, but this longing that some people have to go out and experience the wild.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like it's this, what's the word? It's just in ourselves to like be with nature, like it's where we thrive. Like I feel like, the more connected I am, the less tolerant of being indoors I am, like especially
Mm,
without the windows open. Like I feel like I'm suffocating if the windows aren't open. It's just like
yeah.
I need to be in that communication, the breathing of fresh air. And it's like it just helps me feel alive and connected, like I'm getting. It's like, I mean, a lot of practitioners teach about the breath, and for me how I'm seeing the connection with the breath is like connecting to nature just as we breathe in. Like it is this like, it's like this communion. It's, you know, it's intimate, and it's like this give and take with life.
Yeah. I think that that's just like a wonderful like moment for us, because so often we're just going through our day, you know, and we don't think about that kind of thing, and we don't notice the preciousness, you know. We say, you know, I'm inhaling the exhale of someone on the other side of the world. Like, oh, there are butterfly just exhaled in Japan and I'm inhaling that, right? Like it's strange, but there is that sense of magic. There's that sense of interconnectedness, and I love that you just brought that to us with that, because it is precious and it is humbling, and it's a great reminder for us all, like, that's how interwoven life is. Yeah, yeah. So what led you to do this type of work? What brought you to helping people to connect with themselves through nature?
It's been a little journey. I mean, but I think one of the things is when I was reading, like, um, you know, I guess there's multiple aspects, but there was a question of like, what did you do when you were a child that you could spend hours doing? And
Mm.
when I finally realized, like, all I wanted to do was be in nature and talk to trees. You know, so
Yeah.
it's just, like, I felt the happiest then, and you know, building things, like building structures, making little homes, and just like finding little places that were like these nooks where I felt like, oh, this is where I can set up, and finding flowers. I love flowers, and but you know, I've gone on this journey of you know, having experienced depression and anxiety, and then, you know, studying counseling and coaching, and but you know, feels like it just keeps coming back to like the core of it is like feeling disconnected from nature, like from. And when I say nature, it's almost like life itself, like life force energy might be a way. And
Mm.
there's like a spiritual component too, but through nature, it feels more tangible, and like because we can actually touch it. But it's like it feels like where the physical and the spiritual meet is through nature, and like
Mm.
for me, that feels really powerful and magical and impactful.
Yeah. Would you say, I've got two questions here. Would you say that not only like that, would you say that we feel disconnected from nature, but also like our nature, like the fact that we're natural beings?
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, it's almost like we've been treating ourselves more like uh, you know, machines. No,
I was
you
thinking
know,
domesticated cats, but
okay.
kind of the
Yeah,
same.
there's lots of different.
Somewhere in between that, machines and domesticated cats are where humans usually are.
Yeah. Mm. I was thinking if I wanted to go into my theory about domesticated animals or not, but
Well, we'll do that another day.
yeah, no, it's like,
So the depression and anxiety and this feeling of um, disconnect from ourselves and from nature. Um, do you think that it sounds like you think that that's really related, and that nature is the one of the potential solutions for that? Do you think that like the rise in anxiety and depression is because of this continued disconnect?
absolutely. I mean, I think there's lots of factors involved, but I feel like this is the like core underlying factors of those factors. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because it can be amplified, the feeling of disconnect, society and, culture wars and such like that. It's like, it just keeps like, when you're chopping a log, it just keeps like making that go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I'm wanting to speak to this, and also I'm wanting to let the words come. So I'm kind of like, I like to put my hands out and be like, what wants to emerge right now? Which is what nature does. Mm. Yeah, it's like the choices we make um, when we're feeling in connection with nature much different than when we're disconnected. And it's a lot easier to feel like heart centered when, like, to make, it's like nature wants everything to thrive. And it's sharing resources as much as possible, and but also having like boundaries of like taking what it needs for itself too. And so it has this really beautiful balance of taking what it needs for itself and sharing. And when we're connected with that, and mm, there's a sense like feeling connected with nature, there's a sense of like you have an enormous support system, and that you're not only are you not alone, but there's this like so many beings that are available to help, and just like, and then a wisdom, like this ancient wisdom. And there's there's actually 52 senses, like not just the senses that we hear, taste, touch, and smell, and hearing, but like there's like a, I don't have them all memorized of their names, but just like being able to sense that there's something behind you, even if you can't see it,
Oh, yeah.
and sensing, wind direction, or like strength. Those are just a couple examples.
Hmm.
So it's like when we're in nature, where they have a lot more access to that kind of knowingness, and then we're seeing what in the animals and the leaves and the sun is showing us. The sun gives us actually a lot of cues of like, hey, this is a path. It's like it literally like lights the way for you.
Yeah. You were right. Well, there's like it's like so rich in metaphors, isn't it? Like, yeah. uh, so when it comes to your work helping people access themselves through nature, like what does that look like?
There are a couple different ways, um, just for depending on what people prefer. So I can do like, well, this is more like logistically, I guess. So the one-on-one sessions, either virtually or in person, and then I do online courses, um, and those are like as groups or as just like a video course that you do yourself.
Mhm.
And that gives, I do a lot of guided meditation. And when I'm doing one-on-one, then it's really tailored. Like I'm tuning into like, what does this particular person need to hear? And so I using a lot of intuition and tuning into that's what one of them are, and tailoring it to them. And then I also do that for a group of people too, and just kind of like, what is this group? What's the thread here of what this group is needing? And then there are like so the one-on-one, for example, like in person, it's like I combine coaching and nature connection, and so we're meeting in nature, and we're really focusing on metaphors in this sense. So there'll be some talking and working through things, and then I'm constantly noticing like what sort of metaphors are coming up, and then pointing them out. So like, you know, an animal might come by and I'll have like my cards with me that tell like what does this animal symbolize, just to sort of give some extra
Yeah.
insight into the situation that they're, you know, needing help with.
The symbolism of animals is really rich because like I don't think every animal that crosses my path throughout the day is a message for me. However, like the cardinal that is literally looking in my window at me, that might be, you know, like saying hello to me. Um, there are very specific moments where I'm like, oh, I feel like I probably should look that animal up
Hmm.
and see what it means. And it's very interesting and in just another way to look at things.
Yeah. Um, I was just checking to see if I fully answered your question about how I work with people with nature connection. I guess since there are different modalities, I was like, should I go into each one or just basically it's metaphors, journaling, and guided meditations. So it's activities that, so if we're not in person, I will give you sort of an activity to go do. And I try to make it so that you don't have to go into a forest if that's not accessible to you, that really nature is everywhere. And if you can see the clouds in the sky and you can, you know, have some fresh air or see a tree, that you can get some connection with nature. Um,
That
it's
was
a,
my
it's
next question. Yeah. So what do people do if there's like if seemingly no nature? They're in the middle of a city or something like, but you say if as long as you can look at the sky or
yeah, the sky, so the clouds, the sky, the moon. Um, if there are any trees, even just like little tiny things growing between cracks in the concrete,
mm,
and the water is nature,
yeah.
and you know, really just you can do a whole meditation with water, and it's also like this sensory aspect too, like how does that feel in your mouth? Like what are you noticing?
Mm,
You can connect with water in that way, and really honoring how water is a huge part of nature and us, you know,
right. Yeah.
pretty much all living things.
So for the person that's like, well, you know, okay, I want to check this out. I want to see what this is like. And they go outside and they're looking to see how they can connect with nature. Like what's a good first step for them? What do you recommend? Like I walk out the door, then what?
So what I teach in my course is to first orient to the space. So
Hmm,
you acknowledge that you're there, and acknowledge that you're alive, and that there are things that are alive in the space too. And so maybe even looking for things that are alive. And so, and not to say that there is nature, like only nature is alive, but the just the aliveness part, I think, like brings a spark to the activity. And
gotcha. Okay.
yeah, and then the next step is to notice what you're drawn to. Like where are you feeling like curious about? Like so it's just like first observing around the space, noticing what you see, just acknowledging the things, not necessarily naming them all in your head, but if that helps you connect, that's fine. And noticing all your senses, what you see, smell, what things might imagine that they taste like, and what you're hearing.
Hmm,
And yeah, and then and after you're in that space, then you can go to like, what am I drawn to? Like, where am I pulled? Where do I feel curiosity, or like, what is that doing there? You know, it could be a thing,
yeah.
being
Yeah.
drawn to something.
Attraction or even repulsion and wanting
Yeah,
to investigate it. Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Interesting. Yeah. So, do you have any advice or tips or anything for people who are like, I'm not a nature person. I give me a hotel room or whatever, like they don't consider themselves like, they don't like bugs, they don't like whatever, Do you have any advice for them? Things they can do to still seemingly connect?
Mhm. I mean, yeah, water keeps coming to me um,
Mm,
in that answer. Um, it feels like it would be really tailored to like what are the particular things for that person, you know? So
yeah.
um,
Water's a great answer, though. I think it's accessible to everyone. Like, well,
yeah,
most people. Yeah.
yeah, and just like yeah, feel like giving yourself permission to really have a sensory experience with water. So like even if it's just like coming out of the faucet or in the shower, or maybe you're getting to go to a pool or something, and just like noticing your fingers going in and out of it, and um just like saying hello to it. Like maybe hold some in your hand, and just acknowledge, like imagine maybe where that water has been and the
Mm.
journey that it's been on and the experiences it's had, and just like trusting whatever comes to you, like whatever pops in your mind, like trying on, like, what if that's actually true?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, because maybe there's no wrong answer,
Mhm,
and what pops in your head is what you want or need to hear in that moment.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This whole conversation has been so like soothing because we're talking about nature. It's very calm. It's very mindful and present in this moment. So I'm just like, oh, that's been wonderful for me.
Oh, that's
Um, yeah. So, you know, so we can, you mentioned like looking at the metaphors in nature and feeling this sense of interconnection and how that helps with, feelings of anxiety, depression, and stuff like that. Like, you know, why else? I guess I want to say, why else would people give this a go? Why else would people want to experiment with this a little bit?
because it helps you really tune into your truth. Like
Mhm.
you can go. It's like we're like bombarded with so many different I don't, well, you
Yeah,
probably know, or just like all these things constantly of like, and it's kind of like what's true in this world
yeah,
anymore, like what can we trust, and like this is something we can trust, and it helps us get in touch with our own truth, like our own inner knowing, and like that we have an inner guidance system. And when we tune into the Earth's inner guidance system and we're aligning with that, it gives us like a direction, it gives us like a stability. And then there's also like this support, like this whole network of support. Um, not just humans, but it's like the 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 trees and the animals and the air is all rooting for us, like they're like, yes, we want you to thrive and survive and we want the best for you. And so like
mm,
there's a whole support system out there that most people are not tuning into, and it's enormous.
yeah. I think I need to like use that mindset about support a little bit more when it comes to very specific bugs that bother me. Like, I'm generally okay with bugs, but very specific ones that I'm like, why do you exist? There's a reason why it exists. I know that, but I can't help but side eye them a little bit. But how do they support me in some kind of way? that would be an interesting conversation to have with myself and the mosquito.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like, what are you thinking about? What were you thinking about when you got bit?
Hmm.
Or,
Interesting.
what are
Yeah.
you itching to do? Is it?
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And the whole, like, if I can look at my relationship with mosquitoes, what you resist persists.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like exploring the relation, like could I be friends with you, mosquito? Like
Mm,
could I think of you as friends? And what if what if this isn't harming
hmm.
me?
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that that's for everyone, or that it should be either. So there's different things to take into consideration. Just giving some examples of just like, and then what might it be like to imagine a barrier, like, hey, mosquitoes, I'm off limits today, and
Mm,
exploring that to see, um, is that boundary being is that boundary being respected, or communicated effectively, and then how does that relate to your life?
so we can mutually coexist, but this is my personal space. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that you said like have that kind of relationship. I actually did that, and I haven't. I'm still in process with it over the last few years with wind, because I had noticed for a while that wind sometimes really irked me. Like I just would get like testy with wind, and like I just feel like my buttons were pushed, and I was like, I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. No, I don't mind a nice breeze, but I'm talking particularly like, a cold wind and stuff. And I
Mhm.
just felt like it was invasive. And yet the places that I long to go definitely have cold and definitely have wind. And like how can I make peace with that? How can I even get to a point of like welcome with it? And so I've been holding space for that. And mostly at getting to peace, not quite at welcoming yet. It's a process. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with there being a process. Like I feel, like with mosquitoes, I'm still in process with mosquitoes. And sometimes it
Yeah.
feels like it's sort of better than other times, depending on, well, it's kind of like depending on the lesson I need to learn in the moment and also how connected I'm feeling too makes a difference.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the wind, and um, I was thinking about like, are there other elements like in the environment to connect to that might help?
Mm.
So I was just imagining like I wonder if the sun could come out when there was especially cold winds blowing, to help ease that, or maybe the sun could point to like a place that the wind would lessen, like wouldn't be as strong in that area.
Yeah.
Those are some things that I would be looking out for in that situation.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I'll definitely pay more attention next time I'm experiencing that cold wind. I think that everyone has one kind of weather thing that just like, oh, I don't like, I've heard some people, they're like, I forget the cold. I don't care if I ever see
Yeah.
snow again. And other people are like, oh, the humid, muggy, Alabama weather. Like it's
Mhm.
just, so I believe that that's a thing for most people, and it's interesting to see like what those potential, like you said, metaphors or lessons or whatever it could be.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing that sort of the mantra that's helped me is like when I encounter something uncomfortable in nature is like, what if this is helping me? Like what if this
Mm,
is for my highest good? Like something, even if I can't see it right now, like there's something that I can either learn from this or grow from this, or it brings me into another series of events that I wouldn't have gone to.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that thought process. I think that that's really valuable in life, you know. Yeah. And again, how nature is supporting our lives, right? Yeah. Oh, so Sebastian, I want people to find you. So would you please tell us where we can find you on, the web, the great
Yeah.
web?
I have a website called regenerativebeing.org. So we have the being part in common in our
Yeah,
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 because it's important, right?
it is.
Um, and then I am having an online course coming up, and you can register. I'll put the link in the place, and
Link in the
yeah.
place. Check the comments.
um, but it's go.elarinstitute.org/returning dash to dash self. So returning to self.
Returning to self.
Yeah.
Can you like speak a little bit more like what you mean about the returning to self, just so people can really get that?
Yeah, it's returning to this I'm like core essence, and then essentially it's like returning to life, like
Mm,
returning to an interconnectedness with all that is alive, and
mm,
with your, so it's like returning to connecting with your inner truth, your and inner wisdom, the wisdom. It's almost like the wisdom of, I want to say, the earth's heartbeat. That's what's coming to me.
mm.
And yeah, and like at the pulse of the universe. So it's
Yeah.
like self with a capital S. So it's like this inner world, but also a guidance system. So it's like being inward out, and so
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Like that just feels really yummy, because I think so often, like you were saying earlier, there's so many messages, and we're bombarded on a daily, minute, moment by moment basis, and like so we can easily disconnect from this person that I am, and easily take on all this other crap, and being mindful and present with me, within me, together, right? With me and within me. That sounds like exactly what you're talking about, like
yeah,
getting to the root of this being.
yeah, that's exactly it. I really love how you phrase that.
You feel free to use it. I will say that before our call, Sebastian did a guided meditation to help us both ground and center. And there was much of this conversation, aspects of this conversation in that meditation. I highly recommend having a meditative session with Sebastian. Um,
That's
yeah,
actually one of the freebies that I'm giving is guided meditation. So
awesome.
put a link for that in the chat too.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love that. Well, Sebastian, any final thoughts before we say goodbye to you?
Hmm. Hmm. I guess I'm just feeling a lot of gratitude for you and for the people watching, and hmm, yeah, just like noticing that we each have us at any moment's notice, like we're not actually disconnected. It's like remembering that we are. It's almost like it's just like forgetting. So the reconnecting is like, it's just really a remembering that we are already there, and that the breath is a pathway, one of the major pathways of like remembering that. So like imagining that when you're inhaling, you are inhaling nature, you're inhaling Mother Earth, and it's just like the essence, the breath of life. You're inhaling life and communicating with it, and with every exhale, you're giving back. And so it's kind of like, it's like this give and take and this love, this relationship. So we're always in a relationship.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. It's very anchoring, and like you said, connecting. Like if I'm inhaling the essence of nature, if I'm inhaling the messages, if I'm inhaling the aliveness, and I'm exhaling and I'm sharing my love and essence and aliveness, there's just like this beautiful, like it's that symbiosis, right? That's what you feel like. I'm just a little mushroom. Yeah, yeah. It's a fantastic feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sebastian. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your heart with us, and looking forward to sharing more with you in the future.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.